welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Campson. I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly.
And
Tyler Hymanson.
Oh, and it's our favorite time. New franchise time.
Yay.
It's time for us to spelunk into another franchise.
Oh, here we go. We're diving deep into a cave. We're talking about The Descent this week, kicking things off with Neil Marshall's written and directed horror film, The Descent from 2005. Before we go too much further, Elis, where can people reach out to us?
Yeah, you can email us at sequelrights@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media because that's where we got the suggestion for this franchise, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcast or share us on social media. We really appreciate it. We're trying to make our way through a lot of user suggestions. We just did Carrie. If there's some franchise you've been dying to hear us talk about, let us know. And we might just tackle it.
Yeah, because, we're totally out of ideas of sequels. We're running low on sequels. Just kidding. There's a million of them.
Based on what I saw on the Hoopla catalog, we could go forever.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we really could. This one is brought to us by our number one Twitter hype man, Reading Hicks on Twitter.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for suggesting this one. And we hope you enjoy these. It's a twofer.
And if you want to watch along, like I just said, they're available for free on Hoopla. Support your local library.
I watched it on the IMDb TV. I also feel like that we all maybe watch different versions of this movie.
Excited.
And I hope we can get into that later.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that's about. But before we go, here is the trailer.
They were best friends.
Always searching for the next big high. Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
On a weekend adventure.
Down there, it's pitch black. You can get claustrophobia, paranoia, hallucinations. If there's no risk, what's the point?
Until they descended to a place.
No one's ever been down here before.
Oh my God. It's incredible.
Man was never meant to go.
Don't look down, Bam. Keep going. You have to find a way out of this chamber and keep pushing forward. Come on.
Sarah thinks she saw someone back
So
there.
what? What did you see?
A man. I saw a man.
No, it's the dark. It plays tricks on people.
Oh, did she see something or not?
No man has gone before. But what about
I am no
man?
man.
Man was never meant to go.
Interestingly, I actually have a take where Lord of the Rings plays into this. So,
Well, yeah, it's a whole. Well, yeah.
I was like, there are other trailers, that maybe were a little bit better trailers, but I love to find the one with the
but less drums.
Trailer guy. Yeah,
Trailer man.
the lines of dialogue, the lines that he has over the trailers are always hilarious. So there you go. Well, hey, has anyone had anyone not seen this movie before we dive in here?
What's interesting to me is I don't think I actually saw this movie in theaters.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out as well on my end. I feel like, to me, this movie is like the quintessential, like, during college, like, oh my God, you guys, we got to watch this movie. I just rented it at wherever.
Yeah.
Or I heard about it and now I've got the DVD, so let's watch this crazy movie. Because it's like right in that time frame for me, and I feel like I probably didn't see it in theaters.
I feel like that I had the sad reality of like thinking that, oh my God, this movie absolutely crushes, and having nobody to share that with.
Yeah.
'Twas a lonely life you led.
Yeah, I think it was just like that, silently watching maybe the DVD in a library somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never seen it before. I don't know if you guys remember, like, when they marketed it, well, I guess we just heard the trailer, but was it clear that there were monsters or creatures involved?
No, they kept that secret. They kept
Yeah.
it secret.
Yeah.
They kept it safe.
Yeah. The only time that I was like, maybe I did see this in theaters was when it comes to the ending, but we can get to that. Just because I recall one ending and then there's a different ending that some of you guys might have seen.
I was absolutely certain that I saw this in theaters, and now I am 100% certain I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, man, this movie is awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So wait, Eliz, you were saying you hadn't seen it until?
No.
Oh man, that's crazy. This is one that I would definitely do for horror movie night, but we are doing it here. It is, rewatching this movie. I hadn't seen it in a long time, so there's stuff that happens right away in the beginning that I had totally forgotten about.
Oh, like some Final Destination nonsense.
Yeah.
That was more terrifying than like almost anything else for me.
Yeah.
Because we spoil everything, but someone is murdered by flying poles in a car.
Yes.
And I think last time I remember this happening was I think Baby Driver this happened. And I know there's a couple Omens where something like this happens. And like this fear of like the poles coming off another car is always like terrified me in the back of my mind.
It's something that
well, you don't have to worry about it too much because poles are wildly inaccurate.
It's true. That
Plus
margin of error.
The polls only kill people for story purposes. So,
Yeah.
Just make sure you've got nobody else in the car that would really amp up your story if they died from polls. Yeah, it was funny earlier today. Eliz, or I had missed a message where Eliz was asking if there were any kids in the movie, and I wanted to be like, "Yeah, there's one child, one dead child." And then I was like, "Man, this is another movie we're watching where it's like dead kids, brutally killed children." Sorry. But yeah, I had totally forgotten about that. In my mind, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a bunch of girls that that go down in a cave and they see monsters." And that's all there is to the movie.
But the real killer is distracted driving.
That's right. It's like, well, you got to keep it at 10 and 2, even if your husband's having an affair.
Okay, so do they ever actually come out and say it, or is it just heavily implied?
Heavily
Okay, because
implied.
I don't remember them actually revealing it.
No, nobody says, "Oh shit, his
Okay.
penis went in her vagina."
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear when Beth gives her the thing and she's like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's really any ambiguity as to
It plays into the justification for leaving her to die in the most horrible way. So,
oh yeah, of course. Yeah, so this movie, 2005, pretty much an all-female cast. Like the only male cast members basically play the crawlers in the cave.
And the dead husband.
The dead husband, yeah.
husband.
Cheating husband. Sorry.
Who
dead cheating
I don't even know if
husband.
he has any lines. Oh, doesn't he
I
say
think
something
he
in the
says,
car?
like,
he
"No,
does.
I'm
He's
fine,"
like,
and then they
everything's fine, babe.
Yeah. Pay attention to the road, guy. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's a pretty, unique thing, a full all-female horror film in 2005. Even some of the more, female-driven horror films that we see, recently, like Black Christmas remake and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's still not like, 100% it's female cast for the most part.
And that they're all, have complete agency. Like they're a female group of spelunkers. Like the prequel, shots of this movie, establishing the family, establishing the tragedy, also establishes that this is a group of friends that, like to take wild risks and do lots of exploring and spelunking.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love that there's a line in this movie where somebody says, "I'm not Tomb Raider." And then later in the movie, they become Tomb Raider.
She says, "I'm not a Tomb Raider. I'm an English teacher," or something like that.
Yeah.
I was so I had kind of trouble telling all the white people apart, especially
I did
once they
too.
got in the cave.
And they all it's Holly and Juno and Sarah, and it's I don't know that they're
Sarah, I know, Sarah was the one with the dead family, and I pretty much could recognize her. Holly had short hair.
Mm-hmm.
And looked like a lesbian, but wasn't, because she specifically talked about effing dudes all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, she called herself a sports fuck. What does that mean? Does that mean you fuck for sport, or you like to have sex with sporty people, or
I think it could be both.
okay. Well, anyways,
Welcome
she
to
had short
Sports
hair.
Fuck.
And she was like the
Welcome to
newest to
Sports
the
Fuck.
group. Like they didn't know her as well.
Yeah.
And then I think there was two sisters.
Two
that
half
were blonde.
sisters. They were half
half-sisters?
sisters.
Sisters.
Okay, was there any lesbians?
I don't think so.
Because there was one point where she was like, "No, babe, this and that," like with two blondes. But then I was like,
Oh.
I guess those are the sisters.
I thought that there was one point where one of them slept with with them in the weird cabin. But
Okay, so maybe there was another white one on top of the two sisters and the one with the dead family.
There's
I
the
don't
two
know.
sisters that's like Rebecca and somebody, and then there is Beth, and then there's
Beth was the
Juno,
best friend, yeah.
and then
And then
there's
Juno's the evil
Holly.
one, yeah. Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, the blonde ones were really hard to tell apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not follow.
Aren't they all? Anyways, yeah, I really love the camaraderie and like the long, I mean, they take a long time before they even get to the cave. And I just enjoyed that, you know, at the start of things, at least it was like, this is just a normal group of girls. And, you know, this is like, it's like the kind of thing where someone might have written this movie and been like, oh, it's got to be a bunch of bros. And they're going to all be broing out. But instead it's like a, you know, they went with all girls and they're just like having a fun time. They're not like being catty or anything crazy, stereotypical in the beginning.
Until later.
And I think they did a good job, like in the opening parts where they're like meeting at the cabin and like drinking the night before and stuff. Like we have been camping together where like, you know, somebody that one person knows, but the other people don't know that well is there. And like some people are like getting to know other people better for the first time and whatnot. And I thought
And
it
some people might already be dating, and like that might be really obvious, but
some people could become Southern. I don't know.
I don't know
So
what
then
you're
they
talking
drive
about.
out to the cave, basically.
Yeah, I just like
lies about
Yes.
the cave.
they're supposed to be going to Boredom Caves, you know, that, and Holly the entire time was like, oh, more like Boredom Caves. And oh, it's like a tourist trap, and they might as well have hand railings going on the way down.
So I have been to one of these tourist trap hand railing caves in, I think, Virginia. I want to say it was called Luray Caverns. And yes, there are handrails and lights and everything, but you go and you like walk down, you're like, ooh, I'm in a cave, and you see like stalagmites and stalactites, and it's very exciting.
caves are awesome. You can go, like, Mammoth is an awesome cave to go into. There's a Kingman Canyon cave that we went to in Arizona that's incredible. Caves are really cool and really spooky, and we will get into this a little bit later, but I believe that this film is kind of unofficially based off an H.P. Lovecraft short that also takes place in Mammoth Cave.
Nice.
I mean, I love a cave. I love an adventure. I love a mysterious hike, but like, I got to be able to walk to it. There's no spelunking happening.
There's no
Yeah.
spelunking.
If I'm going into a dark hole that has never been explored before, that's just not going to happen. I love jumping off things, into things, you know, exploring all sorts of stuff, but no, not down.
I will say that growing up in Las Vegas, we had a hot spring that was at the base of the Hoover Dam, that was on the Colorado River. And fun things about it was off the highway, so there was a lot of burned out cars on the way. There was one of those things where like people have put ropes and things, like there was some light bouldering, and then there was hot springs that you kind of had to like squeeze into like caverns to get into, and we used to just bring a lot of beer and hang out there for an evening. But yeah, there was definitely times where like, oh, I'm gonna sneak through this little crevice of rock, and then there's times if you get in there weird that you get stuck, and caves are scary.
But did you need ropes?
Yeah, the ropes were already installed. I'll say that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just even if you manage to get me to spelunk down like that initial one that they went down, there's no way that you could get me to crawl through the one where they like
Nope.
Okay, so first of all, I was like, none of this would have happened if they had one fat friend or like one friend who was not rail thin. They would have been like, oh my gosh, your boobs are too big. We can't leave you behind. Guess we've got to go another way.
Yeah.
End of movie.
Yeah.
Well, no, their friend wanted them to discover this cave together because they're all cave explorers.
And she was like, maybe we could name it after you. How about your dead daughter? Maybe
Yeah.
you ever think about that? Like, she didn't even suggest that.
The dead daughter cave system. Yes. That's one of the things I like about this movie. It's like there's basically no world in which I would ever do any of the things they're doing in this movie.
Right.
But it has that sense of like watching along. You're like, oh, how would I react in this situation? What would I do? And I was like talking with my wife and I was like, okay, maybe you could convince me to go down that first thing and look around and be like, wow, this is cool. And then, if I manage to somehow make it through that first tunnel, once I get through there, I'd be like, nah, just leave me here. I'm just going to die here now. This is it. I'm not crawling back through that tunnel.
Up or, yeah.
Just let me die. Because oh my god, like this movie, once they start like crawling through these tunnels, like I actually think like before the monsters show up, like that stuff is really anxiety inducing and a bit scarier.
This
than
movie
the
was a
crazy
difficult
monsters.
watch for me today.
Yes.
As difficult as it was back then, like this movie just works, even though there's a few weird like CG things at this point. Like it really is an anxiety machine. Like the closed spaces suck.
It's definitely the most claustrophobic I've ever felt watching a film. They do such a great job, and it's like the whole time, I'm always, anytime I get really worked up in these things, you're always like, it's just a movie, but it still has that. It's just so tense, and the claustrophobia is so real, and just like the things that you see them crawling through, and then when people get stuck, you're just like, oh god, I can't get out of this. Get into a bigger cave system. Oh god.
Yeah, no way, not going there.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
But I have been to other cool caves, many that were ADA accessible.
Yeah. Like they talk about those caves where it's like a gift shop, and then in the back of the gift shop, you go down into the
one
cave.
of them, I think this is the one in Virginia. One of them, somebody made like an organ out of the stalagmites and stalactites with like, there was like a keyboard, and then there were like little hammers that would hit them. And it was crazy.
Nice.
So
that's pretty cool.
No monsters though.
So this is a movie where I would die real fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably, I would 100% get stuck in one of those things and just
none of us would have even fit through that hole.
Yeah.
Like there's no way.
No way whatsoever.
Nope.
Yeah. Like if camera adds 10 pounds, skinny minis over there are barely making it. Like,
I know.
So this might be a good time before we get into like the whole monster thing that like I want to bring up that a couple of things that kind of play into. I remember liking this movie and not knowing why I liked it so much, where like it felt different, and because it's incredibly classic. Like it has so many normal scares. It's playing through. The soundtrack sounds like a John Carpenter movie. But I feel like that this movie has to be at least semi-based off the H.P. Lovecraft story The Beast in the Cave, which is based off Mammoth Cave, which has a gentleman being lost in the cave, walking around and kind of losing his mind a little bit. Then the guide comes and finds him, and then they find basically a pale albino version of humanity who is this like scary creep that was just another person who got lost exploring this cave. It's not this, it doesn't have this full monster, rule nonsense, but these monsters in this movie are decidedly humanoid, like the history that they have in there and the way things are built in, the way that it builds to it. Like the reveal that there's something in this cave, this movie earns 10,000%. And I love how they build to it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the movie too. Like the slow, drop in of clues and hints that something's off here. Something's not right. It's
like,
it's
we
done
found a
really great.
100-year-old piton. It's like, okay, well, that seems like a boring detail.
Like even in that first cave, there's like those like bloody hand marks on the side of the cave, and they're just like, wonder what that is. Oh, well, whatever. Through the skinny hole we go.
Even the first deer carcass they find, I'm
That's
like,
right.
have you never watched a movie before? Don't you know when you find a carcass with mysterious markings that there's a monster somewhere? It's never a bear.
Yeah. Also, they should have known something was wrong almost immediately. But even that they were going to the wrong caves, they probably should have known. If it was
there was no sign.
If it was that touristy, yeah, exactly. There probably would have been other people going at the same time.
Parking lot.
Yeah. Basically, they're so dumb. I can't believe they fell for this. No, I'm kidding.
They fell for it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let's be one of those people that just pick apart. This movie is so unbelievable. I can't believe it.
Oh, my God. Like North Carolina. There's not monsters in North Carolina. If anything, they're in South Carolina.
Wow.
Oh, man. But yeah, I agree. That is great. And I love that... I think the crawlers are meant to be like they said in the special features. I think that they're meant to be like cavemen that just stayed in the caves and didn't come out. Not that it was like the previous like expedition that went down there.
Right.
Yep,
Yeah, because obviously they evolved over
exactly.
thousands.
Yeah,
at least 1,000 years.
They're too far
years.
evolved to have just been the lost. Expedition.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Like,
So-
it's not like a lycanthropy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Were any of them women? Females?
One of them was.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
there were.
Okay, I must have missed it.
Yeah, the female crawlers. They call them crawlers in all the special features.
Right.
They were the only ones that had hair. They had hair, and then she had like boobs or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Because remember that one gets killed and it must be like a child or something, and then the female one comes out like and smells it and gets all mad.
Yeah,
And then
Sarah,
it goes like real ham on Beth, I believe.
No, Sarah.
or
There was
some
at one
other
point
white
where I
person's
think
name.
she was fighting it and she like grabbed a nipple, or was it a penis? I'm not sure. She grabbed some kind of appendage and like black stuff came out. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
You
That's
might
sick.
have been able to watch an unrated version that I did not see.
I don't think so. I watched it in the library.
Well, we can
virtually.
talk. I think the only real change is in the end, but
Is the ending? I saw the bad ending.
oh, okay. Well, we can talk
I
about
don't
it.
even know what you mean by that because
Well, we
it's so
we can talk
subjective.
about it when we get there.
Yeah. Let's get
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
In the meantime, what else?
I think this movie does an incredible job of setting up the interplay between the relationships of all the friends and kind of why they're friends and how they hang together. And I think that every person, even though that we are struggling to remember who's who in the Disney switcheroo, that I think that they do enough of the legwork up front where every death matters, even if we don't know who this person is to everybody else. Like, we get that they care for each other.
Yeah, and stuff goes wrong like real fast.
Real fast.
There is like a slow burn of like, oh, there's monsters down here, but then once they discover there's monsters, it's like 3 people die like real quick.
I do think something that this movie does that's one of the more impressive like horror movie things is that they have the person reading out the exposition of just like, here's everything that's dangerous about caves. That like people need to know, because if they're not thinking about it, they're not like, oh, caves aren't dangerous. But like they've already established, they've already done the legwork of that all of these ladies know what the fuck they're doing and they don't care. And so this lady's saying all these terrifying things and they're all just like, yeah. And she fades out as she's just reading off horrible thing after horrible thing. And I think that that's one of the better exposition type scenes in a horror movie I've seen.
Right. What series was it? This might have not been sequel rights, but when we were talking about how it's scarier when everybody does all the right things and then something still goes horribly wrong and they all die.
Was
as
it
opposed to
Cabin
watching
Fever?
Dum-dums come. Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember what series it
They
was.
do the
but
right
we
things
said
in Cabin
something like-
Fever. I don't know.
No, that's true.
Those are a bunch of dum-dums.
No, they bought a Game Boy SP, and yes, that's the right thing.
Yeah, but it's way scarier when everybody's an expert and they do everything right and they're still effed.
Oh, you know what? It was Exorcist, I believe, when we went to go see that screening, perhaps.
I never went to that.
I didn't go.
I don't know
to
what
that,
we're talking
so-
about. Yeah.
Okay.
We weren't
But
there,
that's how I feel about
Tyler.
that movie.
Yeah. No, this is great. It's like it gives everyone like once the shit goes down, you get to see everyone kind of pull out their mad climbing skills and try to save everyone's lives.
Scramble.
Well, yeah, and you get to see stuff that's like more than you know. Like, I mean, so like I've seen like the basic equipment, but I didn't know about those ones that you like stick into a crack and it expands and then you, like, lace it through and pull people across. Like that was crazy. And that one girl just like made it happen, but it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she did this amazing feat to save everyone's lives and then immediately gets her hand split open by the rope.
Because of stupid Juno.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the verdict on Juno? Is she a dumb bitch or do we feel bad for her?
She's a garbage person.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for her. I do feel like I do think when she stabs Beth through the neck, like that is a total accident.
Right.
And it could have been fine. She could have been like, oh my God, I accidentally killed. But instead she pretends that.
Well, and Beth forgave her right away and was like, just
Right
stay
away.
here with me while I die. Like she cognitively understood that it was a horrible accident and all she wanted was for her to stay there with her. And she just fucking leaves.
Apparently she leaves.
Like,
like bye.
and then lies about it. It's like,
No, she's like
died.
a real garbage person. And I do like that it's not because that is that situation where like I love the choice of having her understand what's happened to her and be like, just stay with me.
Right.
And it just shows that like some friends are unsalvageable. And like that's what this movie's kind of about, where it's just like you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You want to like if it was just that her friend had the affair with her husband, maybe they could have gotten past it, honestly.
Yeah.
Like if it was just this thing, it was just that thing, but it was that Juno's personality is so toxic that there was no coming back from it.
Right.
And
I liked it later too when the two sisters had like figured out the thing about being quiet or whatever. And one of them was like, wait, we got to wait for Juno. And the other one's like, nope.
Yeah, fuck her.
I don't care.
wasn't that incredible that they didn't even need a whole exposition wall like The Quiet Place? Which is still, I'm always going to dunk on it because I find that the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, she was like, I think the one sister said, with her making all that noise, she's going to bring all the creatures on top of her. And the other girl's like, as long as they're not on top of me, I don't care.
I mean, yeah, at that point, I would be like, screw that girl. She took us down here. I didn't even want to come down here. Like, or I thought we were going somewhere else.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad, but
Should we talk about Juno's justification of that I lied to you because I wanted us all to get credit for discovering this cave?
That's dumb. They didn't seem to care about
in
any of that.
America, you know,
Right, like it's North Carolina.
It's not like you're going into the Marianas Trench or something that no one's ever been to before.
However, I do appreciate a UK director that is for a UK movie that was mostly shot in the UK, picking America being this place. It's like it's backwards and it's weird and there might be monsters. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
True.
That's
I'd
totally
rather
fair.
have them be cave hillbilly monsters than like, ethnic people or natives or something.
It is really interesting in that this movie came out around the same time as the Hills Have Eyes remake. And there was the 90s kind of meta horror movies and Saw where everything has to be, this crazy complex Rube Goldberg thing. And I feel like with Hills Have Eyes and The Descent after 9/11, it was like this resurgence of horror movies where just like the world is scary. The natural world is scary.
Yeah, and there's no happy endings.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a privileged white lady or whatever else it is. Like there is danger out there, and it's weird that is an early 2000s trope. But there was 30 years in between horror movies where that was a fully accepted thing that you were doing. And I think that it fits in this really unique turning point in history where we were very receptive to stories where, just the outside unknown world is out to get us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And also, like, people just die accidentally, you know, and horror movies don't usually allow for that. So as sad as it was, I liked that the movie allowed Juno in the like rage of killing the monster to then kill her friend, because that would probably happen in more horror movies if real people were in that situation. How many movies have we seen the girl fighting off a monster or fighting someone, and then the boyfriend or some other guy comes up behind her and goes, "Oh, no, it's okay," and calms her down or whatever? No, she would probably kill him because she doesn't know what the heck is going on. And that's what happened in this one.
Especially
it's
if they're
like Carrie, where the dude dies from a bucket to the head. It's just like people in this movie die for really real reasons. And like the movie does a great job of oscillating between supernatural kills and then just brute force impact. Oh, you hit your head falling down a cave, then you died. And it made it makes the supernatural element feel much more real and much more terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think this might be a good spot for us to thank our first sponsor for the evening. Tonight, we're being sponsored by sleepcave.com. Do you have trouble going to sleep at night? You're tossing and turning, wishing you were hearing the wonderful ambient sounds of a cave. Well, sleepcave.com has got you covered. They have over 1,000 hours of sound libraries of ambient cave noises, much like this one here that they provided for us. What? Oh, I fell asleep. Sleep Cave is so good, you guys. Go to sleepcave.com and get a discount. Okay, just kidding. That was not a real sponsor. I just wanted to
look up to make sure if that was a real website?
I did look up sleepcave.com. It didn't come up with anything. So
okay. Don't forget to use promo code sequel.
Sequel rights at sleepcave.com for 20% off. Yeah. I just want to be stupid there.
Lots of sounds.
Yeah, that was like, I went back and tried to find stuff for the soundboard this week, and I was like, all I came up with was stuff like this. I just have a bunch of noises of the monsters, Pretty intense stuff. I don't think you could sleep to that, but the first one you could probably sleep to. Yeah, I mean, the sound design of the monsters and the cave is all great in this movie. And I think, Tyler, you briefly mentioned like the score for this. I don't really recall the score for this movie, but I was surprised watching it back after all these years that it's like so expansive.
It's really good.
Yeah, and it's by David Julian, who did some work with Christopher Nolan as well, I believe. He did.
Interesting.
He did the score for like, he worked on Insomnia, and I think he did like The Prestige even. So like, before
Batman Begins, did he do The Cave?
Before Hansi?
Yeah. There is a part in this movie where I was like, where some bats flew out of the thing, and I turned to Gloria and I was like, now she's Batman. Which was funny. But yeah, it's like, I knew this was like a super low budget movie. And so I was pretty surprised to hear like this expansive, like, clearly, recorded orchestra score. It's really beautiful. And the movie overall has, it was like it says 3.5 million pounds was the budget. But it feels like a really big budget movie to me. I mean,
it really does, and it has some. I mean, it makes a lot of sense where Neil Marshall after this like goes directly into Game of Thrones and starts making some real incredible television that feels like it's much higher budget than it is.
Yeah, and surprisingly, no caves were harmed in the making of this film.
that's right.
Literally, no real caves.
Yeah, it was all everything but the exterior
Which is
was out.
impressive.
Set.
Yeah.
Apparently they had like 6 sets and then they were just like take a date or like reposition things and then
Turning
sometimes
us upside down.
yeah, sometimes they would add water into certain ones. They like one of the scenes, you know, where they have I think Sarah is running and she like trips and falls into this like puddle of goop. It was like they built in a bathtub into the thing and filled it with like, you know, muddy water. So lots of really cool stuff in the behind the scenes on this. It's just really impressive. They did use some molds of like real caves and then also some like made up stuff by the production designer. Pretty cool.
So how about the controversial ending?
Yeah, so
Are we ready?
Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
let's talk through the ending. So if you saw this movie in the United States in theaters, or you know, I haven't followed the release of the DVD and everything, so I don't know if there was originally a release that was just the theatrical version, but the Blu-ray I had was clearly labeled like unrated director's cut, and it had both versions. But so in the movie, after lots of toiling and trauma, Sarah like is running away and she falls and kind of gets knocked out, right? And then she wakes up and realizes that she is you know, at this kind of like a hill of bones that leads up to a light that is definitely the outside. And she crawls up, she breaks out and is playing this like really big music cue and she's screaming like, ah, you know, like she finally has been saved and oh my gosh.
Shawshanking it.
Yeah. And it's really emotional and she's like running as fast as she can to the car and she gets in the car and you know, pulls over to puke out the side of the car because she's so like exhausted and freaked out.
And there's a truck that like zooms by, like honking at her, which is amazing, where she's just like, oh, I've made it. And like the world's just like, who cares? Fuck off.
And the camera zooms in on her. And then as we pull out, we see that sitting next to her in the car is a dead ghost Juno. Oh my God. And she screams, ah! And then that's the end. If you saw it. If you saw
that
it.
That is what I saw. I just want to say about the truck. The truck came first, and then she put her head out to vomit, and I was like, don't do that. That's how you're going to get hereditaried. Okay?
Yeah.
But,
that's right.
You did it anyway. But yes, that's the ending I saw.
It's fine. We just bury her in the pet cemetery.
Is that also the ending you saw, Tyler?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, man. No, so I'm the only one who got to actually watch the... Did you guys go and watch the other one?
I did read of the good ending because this is a good ending. The UK ending is better.
Yeah. So okay. So I guess what happened? There's an interview with Neil Marshall on the Blu-ray disc that is specifically only about. It's like a 7-minute thing only about this ending situation, and the UK ending is like the original ending of the film that they had scripted and everything, and I think at some point someone was like, hey, what if we tried it just ending it, you know, like a little bit earlier just for fun? And then I guess when it came to the US, you know, release, they tested both endings and the UK ending, you know, scored okay, but not that great. And then the one where it cut off right where we said with Juno's ghost and her screaming, that tested better. So that's what they ended up putting out in US theatrical release. But then obviously when they went back for this Blu-ray, they wanted to restore the original ending. And it's interesting.
Never trust the testing.
I know. Well, it's interesting too, because it was funny to hear him try to explain, because I guess, you know, when it came out in theaters in the US, everyone was like, what does the ending mean? And he was like, well, it's hard for me to answer that because that's not actually the full ending, but
she's been hallucinating and having bad visions the entire time.
Right. But there's more of an open question with the US ending, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a non sequitur if the cave people are magical or supernatural in some way, as opposed to just being this weird divergent offshoot of evolution. And so, like, I feel like that the U.S. ending makes it feel like that, oh, she was consumed by the cave people. Like, that might mean that there's something else, or she's just crazy. And I think that that's fine. That's the Hills Have Eyes remake ending as well.
Yeah, he explained that it was a little bit more like a Texas Chainsaw type ending where this girl escaped the problem, but she's clearly gone crazy or something now. She's out in the world, but she's not great. She's having a bad time.
Or, it's the ending of Carrie.
Or the, as opposed to the UK ending, which we can talk about now, where he said it's a much bleaker ending, more in vein of like The Thing, is specifically what he references.
It is The Thing ending, and okay, well, tell us what it is, and I will go through 3 levels of range.
Yeah, it's so the UK ending is horribly bleak, and it's very sad, I thought, because it's playing like a very sad music cue underneath it. So basically, right after that scream in the car, she wakes up again, still in the cave. And she kind of slowly gets up, and you see that there's like a light flickering somewhere, and you're kind of like, oh, maybe it's that torch that she had, right? But throughout the movie, we've been seeing these kind of like hallucination flashback dream things where there's a birthday cake and it's her daughter. And so we see that again. And this time we see like Sarah just sitting in the cave, looking at the cake in front of her, and then like her daughter on the other side. And then it slowly kind of zooms out and we see that she's just sitting there like blank staring at the torch. And it kind of zooms out further and further, and we see that she's still in the cave, and then we slowly start to hear the sounds of like the crawlers coming closer. We never see them, but you hear that they're like surrounding her, and then that is the end of the movie. so like
which is a fantastic end to a movie.
Yeah, it's so depressing, but so I get maybe why they were like, this is too dark for the U.S. audience, but I actually really like it.
I will say this: my favorite movie of all time is The Thing, John Carpenter's, and it's also my favorite ending because it's not as explicitly bleak as that. You got McCready, you got Childs. There is the entire base is on fire, and they're about to die of exposure. And they have this moment where this entire movie, everybody's not trusting each other, and they know that they're both going to die. However, it's unclear who trusts who, if someone thinks that they're a thing or someone thinks that they're both people, but there's a hope in that they both trust each other enough to die of exposure. And if they're wrong, then they're wrong, but they're not going to kill each other. And it's a weirdly optimistic ending to me for The Thing, in that it is the worst case scenario happening, and that, okay, everybody did this. The system that put everything in place to put everybody in harm's way is still there, but these people have come to an understanding. And I really like that ending, and I really like this UK version of that, where it kind of ends in this cerebral place of, well, did she escape? Did she not escape? It doesn't really matter. You know, the world is still coming for her, whether she's outside or sitting in the cave.
Yeah. And like, maybe this is a moment for her to like, just, you know, she's spent and broken, and now she's just going to sit there and like imagine that she's about to be with her daughter, or she's there with her daughter.
I will say I liked the footage of her like emerging from the cave and getting to the car and all of that happening, and having it be this random supernatural thing at the end. Like, it feels incredibly American of just be like, throw a jump scare at the end. And like, there's something more terrifying to me about that. No, it's just this divergent humanoid species that we totally missed.
Well, and
that's way scarier.
As effed up as it was, that when she was stuck in that tunnel, her friend was like, the worst thing that's already happened to you happened, and so who cares about this cave? Like, that was messed up in that moment, but in general, it's true. Like, anything that happens to her in the cave is not as bad as losing your husband and child.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Yeah, Eliz, you should go back and watch this on YouTube or something. It's not very. It's like, you know, it's literally an extra like minute or something in the movie, but it's just so. I feel like it's so powerful to just be like, man, after all she went through, now she's just stuck in that cave, and it's like just It's
so
just
was
sad.
either when either of you watched it, was the music at the end like messed up? Was that intentional on purpose? Like, you know,
Mine wasn't.
No, mine wasn't messed up either.
It was very
Maybe it
much
was
just
just,
John Carpenter, like boom,
the
boom.
hoopla transfer.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway, I do want to say too, I liked how in the credits it gave a "and introducing" for the little girl that is in one scene practically.
Yeah.
But I did find her for your child star check-in.
Oh.
Molly Kayll, Kayll. So that's kind of like a weird last name spelling. So therefore I was able to actually find her.
Mhm.
And she is currently a sales and marketing executive at the Reed Group, UK's leading independent data company.
Whoa.
Independent data.
Yes. And, you know, she went to college, did good, has a job.
There you go.
That's great. That's
Avoided
totally...
whitewater rafting.
Right.
That's right.
And caves.
I'm never going in a cave ever. Yeah. The other thing, like I was thinking about watching this movie too. If I was in this situation, I would go into that cave already assuming there's monsters inside. So when monsters show up, I would be like, I knew it. I knew there were monsters. I just kind of like,
Caves are weird, man.
yeah, I just kind of like would go in there assuming it's haunted or something. That's how I would feel in that situation. But this movie is great.
Should we just talk about how it deals with, like, it's 2005. There's some big CG shots that maybe didn't age super well, but at the time were super successful. It has a lot of.
It's got your favorite thing, matte paintings.
Yes,
a couple times in there when they're showing these far away shots in the cave.
And it has some DNA of Lord of the Rings, where some of the crawlers look like orcs, and it makes a lot of sense that from watching this movie and how I was able to get some really stylized, awesome shit from some pretty close-up digital photography, that Game of Thrones, HBO was like, oh, make us some of our biggest episodes after this. And, you know, I really like Thor: The Dark World. I think Neil Marshall did a decent job with that. But I know that he hates that movie and most people hate that movie. But I can see a lot of the world building stuff that interests him across all of the projects that he's done after this.
Dark Elves?
Dark Elves.
That's right. Yeah.
I thought they looked more like Gollum than orcs, really, but maybe because it was caves. I was thinking that. Yeah,
it is a little Gollum-like, orc-like, bat-like. They said one of the inspirations was like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a fucked up version of that. But yeah, I didn't mind. They kind of use CG sometimes to, you know,
Bats.
Yeah, they're bats, but I mean that wasn't so bad. I think like the more noticeable stuff was when it was like, we want to have more of the crawlers than we have cast, so let's put a bunch of extra ones and make them in the shadows a little bit more. But otherwise, it's all great, and like the practical goop that they have coming out of their mouths and stuff. It's
lots of
gross, so gross. And I love the scene. The scene that I remember the most, you know, and it's like on the posters and everything, is, you know, when Sarah falls into that like giant blood lake
pit
or whatever, and she comes out like she's in Apocalypse
Carrie?
Now or Carrie or and it's just like such a great moment where, you know, you're like, oh, did she die? And she's like, oh no, she's being like super smart Rambo style in this moment.
Rambo.
Being quiet.
I think that the biggest success of this movie is how it rations out information, where it's just like, this cave is dangerous. They're in a bad situation. There might be somebody in this cave. Oh shit, there is somebody in this cave. Oh wait, there might be more than one thing in this cave. Maybe they're friendly. Maybe it's okay. Oh no, maybe they're hunting. They're hunting small animals. Oh no, that's not good. Oh no, they've been killing humans. There's human spines.
Human skulls.
Like it's very like metered in terms of it raises its threat level, and I appreciate a movie that paces itself for you to want to assume the nicest thing that can happen, and then every time it's just like, no, it's not that. No, it's worse. Oh, it's so much worse.
And some just brilliant like night vision camera usage in this. Truly terrifying stuff, like when she has to sit there and be quiet while they devour her friend. It's so messed up. Loved it.
Terrifying. Yeah, lots. And we're still getting like our found footage, infrared, DV camera nonsense.
Oh yeah, forever. I mean, they're rebooting Paranormal Activity, so there you
go. Yeah. So do we have a rating?
Oh, how many lost to time batons would you give? Neil Marshall's The Descent.
You know what? I went into the cave the other day and I found 9 pitons that were lost to time. I really love this movie. I honestly should I give it a 10? I don't know. It's really good. But I'm also kind of like, have we given anything a 10? I can't remember. We probably have.
Carrie.
Yeah, maybe I did. I can't remember. But this is really high up there. It's so good. I think you could watch it again and feel the same like horrible anxiety. I could watch it again tonight and feel the same way. Like, oh God, get out of that cave. And it's just such an amazing trick for them to pull off in this film where it's all on sets and everything's fake. And you're hoping, they're I'm sure as Neil Marshall was like filming the movie, he's hoping that people aren't noticing that it's the same set or something turned around. And they did just such a masterful job. It's just like, the editor of this film too goes on to direct the next movie. And I think he's also, Academy Award nominated editor, and there's just like some frenetic shots in this movie and just keeping everything together. I know we did have some trouble remembering who's who in the movie, but I think they do a great job overall, like keeping track of where everybody is in this cave system. And I just love this movie. I highly recommend it, unless you're very scare prone.
Right. I'm going to also give it 9. What are they called? Batons?
Batons.
Yeah.
Pizza.
9 of those. Same. It was great. I enjoyed it. I was unfamiliar with the franchise, never seen it before. I think, I definitely I could see how this would be too much for some people just on the amount of I definitely exclaimed more than I have for any movie we've watched, I think. Just being like, oh God, that kind of thing. And there were a lot of very dizzying shots too. So if you are claustrophobic or prone to motion sickness, you're probably not going to like this movie, but I am not any of those things. So I liked it.
Nice. Tyler?
Yeah, I think that this is a 9 for me as well. I could almost go 10. This movie absolutely crushes. This movie, watching it again, I was so claustrophobic. I was just as much just no, I don't want to look at it. It as just a pure scare machine. It still works 15 years later. It has, Lovecraft DNA. It has Carpenter music. This is a modern horror classic in a way that I don't think that it even has. I mean, it's beloved, but I don't think that it has the same respect that it actually deserves because it's incredible.
Yeah.
I saw online too that it was coming out around the same time as The Cave and whatnot. What is The Cave about? Are there monsters in that cave?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I remember that kind of. I can almost picture it was
a twin movie situation, but yeah, I don't know.
Impact.
I can picture I'm looking it up now. I can picture the poster for that. The Cave, an action horror.
Oh yeah, it looks like a
Tremors.
Placid situation.
There's a photo where it looks like there's a monster coming up from the ground.
Oh, Tremors.
Oh, yeah, that's what it seems like. But
okay, well, just wondering.
Divers.
Yeah. So this is only a twofer, right?
Only a twofer, and I have absolutely no idea what the next movie is about, but it is called The Descent Part 2. And like I said, it's directed by the editor of The Descent, John Harris, and it was out in 2009. So
I wonder if we'll have an open water situation.
Yeah.
Of caves.
Well, I'm extremely curious about the fact that it's called Part 2. I wonder if it's really supposed to be a continuation or what? Because, like, now that there's these multiple endings, it seems like maybe confusing as to what would be continued. But I can't wait to find out.
True.
I don't know.
Okay, so yeah. Twofer, we need more suggestions. Email us at sequelrights@gmail.com and find us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars goes a long way to having other people find us. Otherwise, tweet out your favorite episode, share us on social media. That is equally as good, and we love to see it.
That's right. And thanks again to listener Reading Hicks. Thanks for listening. I hope you like this one. And we'll see everybody next week as we descend again for The Descent Part 2.